What up, world? Welcome to another episode of the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Wright, coming to you from the beautiful and warm and spring-like confines of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Wherever you may be watching or listening, I thank you as always. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel. In this episode, guys, in this live stream, we're going to be recapping day one of NFL free agency, all the major moves that took place, some of the trades and signings that I thought were definitely of note, definitely things that I definitely wanted to unpack with you guys as always. Love you guys for plugging in and being with me. As always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As we go into this, I definitely want to touch on one of the major things that I thought yesterday was kind of like tricky and kind of like crazy with all the different moves that happened. We all know that free agency started with obviously Max Crosby being dealt. We know for a fact that you had a lot of certain trades that were being talked about, potentially Jalen Carter being moved. That didn't happen. You had a lot of things that happened so far in this free agency period that I think a lot of people were expecting. Obviously, Alec Pierce getting paid, mega bucks by the Indianapolis Colts. Then you have pretty much the, Colts deciding to trade Michael Pittman. But it wasn't really the splashes that I think everybody was kind of expecting. And I think that the reason that happened is because in this free agency period, even though I think that a lot of teams had money to spend going into free agency, I don't think that we can really – I don't think teams really accounted for the fact that this free agency period is kind of weak. I mean, there are guys out there that you could definitely use to plug and play and put in certain positions in certain parts of your roster. But in all honesty, nothing really that's going to really move the needle for a lot of these bottom-feeding teams that are trying to jump back up into contention within the, realms of the NFL elite. But recapping a lot of pretty much what happened during day one, we're going to go to ESPN.com. Give me 1 second here. Pull everything up. And like I said, a lot of moves being made today. I'll recap some of day two. As always, don't forget to check out, and I'll have it here for you guys. So that way you'll see the link in the description box of the screen. Definitely don't forget to check out the Zone and NFL Game Pass, especially if you're, overseas. Any of my people overseas that definitely want to plug into the NFL, want to definitely stay connected with their favorite teams, or just started watching. Definitely check it out. There will be an offer and promotional code in the description box of this video. Also, too, for my avid gamers out there, if you're a big PlayStation fan, definitely want to make sure you check out the link within the description box of this video as well. Huge sale going on for PlayStation, so definitely look that out. And for Malware Bytes, huge offer right now. They're doing 30 to 35% off for new signers. Huge promotion. That will also be linked in the description box below. So we're going to scroll down. There's a lot of moves, guys. A lot of moves. I'm going through every last one of them. Really just going to recap the most important ones, though. And 1 second here. Let's see. Okay. All right. There we go. Full list. It was taking a minute. Apologize for that. All right. So looking at it, obviously, we all knew that teams like the Atlanta Falcons were going to have to make major moves going into this year. Michael Penix suffered an injury towards the end of last season. It's kind of crazy, kind of weird how things played out. Obviously, then you had Kirk Cousins with that whole debacle situation. We all knew that Kirk Cousins was not coming back to become the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons going into the season. That was definitely not going to happen. But we knew for a fact Michael Penix was going to be injured, and we didn't know who was going to be able to take the place. A lot of rumors, a lot of speculation, possibly Kyler Murray. I thought he probably had the strongest chance of going to Atlanta just because of the situation there, and they needed someone who could definitely, be maneuverable, can scramble, be accurate, get the ball to those, weapons like Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, etc. However, I think they shocked the world by going with Tua. I mean, without needless to be said, I've said this numerous times already, a walking concussion. When you have a man that literally cannot get out of his own way and plays the most safest style of football possible, and I don't mean that to shit on his name. I'm not saying that to try to play him. I mean, he plays football in a way that's, a mom would really take appreciation with. He's not taking an unnecessary hit. He's not really trying to put his neck on the line. Now, in fairness, when Tua has done that, that's when he's gotten fucked up. So we've kind of wanted him to revert from that. However, when he goes into these games, we all know that Tua cannot really lead a team beyond the point of contention. We've seen this man make the playoffs. We've seen this man go into numerous situations and just shit the bed. He can't play in open air stadiums in the cold. And for some reason, I guess they figured because they play half their games in a dome, the Falcons thought it was a great idea to sign Tua. Now, logic speaking, right? Let's just really sit here and think about this. You have Michael Penix on the roster, who is an often injured quarterback. He tore his ACL in college. He tore his ACL again in the NFL. Now you've brought in Tua, whose brains is pretty much fucking scrambled eggs. And you're like, hey, you know what? We have two often injured quarterbacks. We have this loaded roster of young talent. Let's just keep pissing it away with quarterbacks that really aren't cutting mustard or doing a fucking thing to really move the needle. It's really startling. I really thought that they were going to probably try to make a move with Kyler. I thought Kyler would have been a perfect fit for Atlanta, but they go with Tua, which was kind of like the weakest fucking move of free agency so far. Anybody who tries to sell that shit to you as well, he's accurate and he makes all the necessary plays. Listen, unless they want Drake London and Bijan Robinson, this situation would be more feasible for it. But unless they want Drake London and Kyle Pitts to always have to catch 5-yard passes and run 70, 80 yards to the house, this is a shitty move by the Atlanta Falcons. So needless to say that was bad. I think one of the other moves, too, that I thought was very startling that was kind of surprising, but not really that surprising, was seeing Mike Evans leave and go to the San Francisco 49ers, leaving Tampa Bay to go to the Bay Area in San Fran. So still by the Bay, but nonetheless, Mike Evans leaving, that kind of shocked me. I thought he was he's going to retire a Buccaneer, won a championship there. He's a Buck for life. But I really thought he was one of the guys that was literally a Buccaneer for life, wasn't going to leave. But the writing was on the wall, guys. I mean, if we're really paying attention and really assessing things, you grabbed Jalen McMillan 2 years ago. You grab Emeka Egbuka this past year in the draft. You know, he didn't have a 1,000-yard season. I believe he had like 300 some odd yards on 30 catches. He was injured throughout the year. Just wasn't good. And then you add insult to injury. On top of the fact the team started falling apart because of injury, it just became a situation where it was like, this is not really sustainable. So got to give Mike Evans credit. At least, he knew the writing was on the wall. Now, I do respect the fact that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it really wasn't about money, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, he really went to San Fran. It must be because they were going to pay him more. No, it wasn't really the money. I think Tampa would have paid him handsomely. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they know they owe Mike Evans a lot. Mike Evans has been a godsend for their franchise. I don't think it was that. I think really what it was, and some of the reports that I've read have indicated this, it just became a situation where Mike Evans wants to compete for championships. I mean, if he's healthy, let's be honest, a healthy Mike Evans is still way better than what the San Francisco 49ers have currently constructed at wide receiver right now. They cannot go into next season with that weak-ass receiving core and think that they're going to destroy or threaten anybody. You've already lost Salah on defense, so I like the move for San Francisco. This made sense. You get a veteran in there. He can help galvanize the young wide receivers. He can help coach the room. They can learn from him. They'll play better. It really helps. And it helps Brock Purdy or Mac Jones, whoever's quarterbacking at the time, whoever it may be. Like I said, great move for San Fran. Sad to see him leave Tampa, but like I said, it's a new day, new dawn. I mean, ultimately now it's just one of those situations where how fast can both Egbuka and McMillan blossom in Tampa, because make no mistake, Egbuka is a fucking beast. McMillan is even good, but McMillan has suffered a lot of injuries. It's one of those things where if both of them can stay healthy consistently, they can replace, Evans and eventually Chris Godwin. But right now, Tampa's not competing for a championship. I think last year kind of proved that. They've lost a lot of their coaches from the past several years offensively. Injuries, it's just one of those things where it's just not sustainable. So credit to Mike Evans, like I said, for making that move. I think also, too, Tyler Lindenbaum getting his deal with the Raiders. I don't know really what people expect at times. People are like, well, they overpaid. They overpaid for Tyler Lindenbaum. There's no way in hell I would pay him, that $80-some-odd million. I don't know if you guys really know this or not, but, news for thought, the Raiders fucking suck. So when you suck, you really have to spend money, possibly overpay for better talent. That's how you get better sometimes. You can't draft your way out of every situation. We've seen this team rebuild consistently since 2002. It has not worked. It has not worked. Whether it's been the front office's incompetence, whether it's just been the guys they drafted not working out. Either way, it's all incompetence that circles around the leadership of that franchise. So, understandably, that they went out. I mean, hell, they get Linderbaum, they get Nakobe Dean, and obviously, as you guys see, fly was fly, bird game. Heartbreaking losing Nakobe Dean. Love Nakobe Dean since he's been Eagle. I mean, I liked him at Georgia. Thought he was a good linebacker. The Raiders getting Nakobe Dean is going to solve a healthy Nakobe Dean. Hell, Nakobe Dean at 80% is going to help solve a lot of problems in the defensive backfield for them. At linebacker, he's one of the special types. You know, it's rare because he was a third-round pick. He's not really that tall, but he's a great blitzer. He will play in pass coverage. So the Raiders need a guy like that, and he's a leader. They need someone that really can lead them because they don't have it. They are just devoid of talent. And then if they're supposed to be taking Fernando Mendoza as starting quarterback and, you know, drafting him number 1 overall, how the hell are you going to draft him if you don't have guys that he could really like lean on or talk to? So the Raiders are just, again, a work in progress. I'm not pissed at all with the money that they spent. They had no choice. I mean, how in the hell are you going to keep continuing to sell to your fan base that you're trying to win football games, but you don't ever really want to spend money? That's impossible for people to believe, no matter how much they love him. And again, I don't even want to stop just with Nakobe Dean. They grabbed Jalen Naylor, which I thought good, solid pickup, solid number 2, great number 3. You also get Quay Walker from the Packers, Kwity Paye. You grab him up. So I like where the Raiders spent their money so far this offseason. And you traded for Teron Johnson. So I like the moves there. You know, they were able to retain some guys too. So again, gotta love those moves. If we're scrolling, I want to definitely talk about the Chiefs. The Chiefs being able to retain Travis Kelce, I think offensively for the vision and the plan of what they're trying to go forward with, I think it's going to be crucial for the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is injured. We don't know when exactly he's coming back. He has a torn ACL. Those injuries take a little bit of time. It's not like guys necessarily hop right back and going to be ready for game 1, especially where he got injured at that point in the season. It was very late. So we don't know if he's even going to be back on time or when, you know. So that being said, you need as much continuity as possible going into this season. Now, obviously, that offense was atrocious last year. Not really up to their standards in the least bit. That being said, getting Eric Bieniemy back as offensive coordinator, having Travis Kelce in there, and then being able to grab a Kenneth Walker, which I think that to me was the best move so far of the early part of the free agency, one of the best moves, I would say. Getting a guy who, granted, deals with injuries, has had some ACL injuries. You do have to worry about that, especially in a tough AFC where he's going to get used. I mean, let's be real. Andy Reid and Brett Veach did not give him $28.7 million guaranteed. 3 years, $45 million is the whole contract, but $28.7 million guaranteed. They didn't pay him that to be a blocker. He's going to run the ball. So I think obviously they lose Isaiah Pacheco. So Chiefs are you're playing musical chairs right now. They're moving guys around. They're kind of trying to figure some things out. I think right now we still have to keep an eye on what Tyreek Hill will do. Now he's injured as well, but there's still a question that he might possibly be there. I think they still need to worry about the offensive line. They might still need to address some things there. They need to address the defensive line too. So Chiefs, I don't think they're going to be done, but it just gives you an indication about where the teams are spending early in free agency, where they're going. And obviously they grab a Aloy Gilman from the Chargers too. Like I said, good move, liked it. The Colts. I love one move. Now they grab Arden Key. Again, not really pissed about that move, not really too thrilled. But again, Arden Key's a good defensive end. I like him. Alec Pierce, like I said, I spoke briefly about that. Just expand a bit further. 4 years, $116 million. Alec Pierce has been one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league. Definitely deserves the contract, definitely deserves the acknowledgement. However, you did get rid of Michael Pittman, who was technically your leading receiver. How that works out, I don't know. But, now he's in Pittsburgh, so bygones are bygones. They're going to figure that out. But the transition tag for Daniel Jones. I don't know if I've lost my damn mind or if I forgot the time frame of torn ACLs. This guy already had a foot injury, and then he had a torn ACL. And you transition tagged them so that way you don't lose them, but you don't really have a plan in place to really have a guy there. So where if he can't and more than likely won't be ready for week 1, what are your options? You're clearly saying that Riley Leonard is not ready, but you haven't done anything to really shore up that position. It's kind of crazy what the Colts are doing. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. I get it. You're trying to play smart business. You can't lose, Daniel Jones for nothing. However, he's on a torn ACL. Unless they have, and obviously they have access to the doctors and the reports, unless it's being said that he's going to come back a lot sooner than expected, why would you even make that move? I mean, he's not even going to be healthy in time. So the Colts are still making some, perplexing moves, even in the lieu of Jim Irsay's death, rest in peace. But their division mates, though, the Houston Texans have not been sleeping. They have definitely been making sure they have been active this free agency period. Stealing, one of the great whites, Reed Blankenship, 3 years, $24.75 million. Grabbing offensive lineman Braden Smith from the Colts, 2 years, $20 million. Obviously, Danielle Hunter signing that massive extension, 1 year, $40.1 million, $30 million guaranteed. I mean, like, ultimately, when you're looking at it, you got Dalton Schultz re-signing, Sheldon Rankins retained, Trent Brown retained. I mean, so far, if you're the Texans, you had a very good, start to free agency. Then obviously the big trade for David Montgomery. That to me, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not hating on David Montgomery. That's not really moving the needle. Now, the guy, when he's healthy, is a serviceable running back, but it just shows you the desperation of the position. Expect the Texans to be making a move at running back in the NFL draft this year. I highly doubt that they're not going to leave that draft without at least drafting one or if not two running backs, because you tried Nick Chubb and maybe he's healthy, but he really wasn't. Mixon had that injury that just they kind of said he wasn't injured. He was going to come back, and then they were saying he wasn't, and we all knew he wasn't coming back. It was just a very weird situation that how Nick Caserio handled it last year in the Texans front office. But so far, good free agency for him in 2026. Can't complain there. Shout out to the Packers getting Zaire Franklin. I think that's been a very underrated move too so far this free agency period. Packers needed a guy that could be an edge rusher, that aggression and tenacity. He's definitely one of them. Got to give him credit there. Isaiah Pacheco went to the Lions. Touched on that briefly. Losing Montgomery, I get it, but Pacheco's not the running back he once was, so kind of weird and kind of like trying to figure out what the hell all that's about. You got Jalen Thompson, former safety for the Cardinals, going to the Dallas Cowboys, 3 years, $33 million. Solid pickup for Dallas. Dallas has not had a solid safety in their arsenal and defensive backfield for a long while. I think this is definitely somebody that can help play in that defense, run the scheme that Christian Parker likes to run. Again, not really a guy. I mean, the Eagles flirted with him some years ago. I know he was almost a Packer a couple years ago. Not really the same player he once was. But again, when you're the Dallas Cowboys and your defensive backfield is that fucking garbage, you'll take anybody that can play the position and at least play it halfway decent in comparison to what you had. So got to get a Cowboys credit there. We're going to scroll up a little bit further. Got to give a shout out to the Bengals getting Boye Mafe, spending some money on a defensive end position, obviously, because they didn't want to pay Trey Hendrickson. 3 years, $60 million. So there you go with the Bengals. The Bears, weird so far, weird start to the offseason. When you have Dahlman retiring, that kind of set them back as far as what their plans were and how they were going to go about things. However, with the retirement of Dahlman, they made some moves along the offense and defense. You traded for Garrett Bradbury from the Vikings. I want to say he was from the Vikings. I believe he's from the Vikings. But you get Garrett Bradbury, you make that move. You signed safety Kobe Bryant from the defending champion Seahawks, 3 years, $40 million. You get linebacker Devin Bush, same amount of years, $10 million less. So you figure so far, and then you get Khalif Raymond too from the Lions, a division rival, 1 year, $5 million. So far the Bears are tightening up some spots and positions on their team that were really key weaknesses that I think they're going to be better in going into next year. The Panthers, got to give the Panthers a shitload of credit. I thought Jalen Phillips was definitely coming back to Philadelphia, but with the money that he was offered from Carolina, he would have been a fucking idiot to not take that money. 4 years, $120 million. I believe it's somewhere between 60 to 80 million guaranteed throughout that deal. Jalen Phillips deserves it. I mean, this guy has dealt with a shitload of injuries. Obviously showed last year in a great defense he could play and put on. Then they signed Devin Lloyd as well, 3 years, $45 million, $25 million of that is guaranteed. Then they also bring in Kenny Pickett. So Carolina is trying to shore up areas to their team, playoff team last year. They really want to be solid in a lot of areas this season. You can tell by a lot of the signings they're making. And addressing the defense, which is definitely something that needed the attention, I think that's definitely a great part of their offseason so far. Now, I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills trading for DJ Moore. Now, I haven't had time really to dive into this. I did do a quick short on it the day it happened. I spoke about it at length. But I just want this to be known so that way I'm on record for saying this. Brandon Beane is a pussy. Okay? Brandon Beane is a pussy. All you had to do is give up the draft picks for AJ, bro. Give up half the draft, man. This year and next year, give it up. You would have had AJ Brown. I doubt any Buffalo Bills fan would have been crying or complaining that they had to give up that many draft picks to get AJ Brown and to get him paired up with Josh Allen and see what the hell can be done. But Brandon Beane, again, saving his job, trying to save face, gets DJ Moore. Now, obviously, there's continuity there with Joe Brady, DJ Moore. I think Joe Brady was one of the first, I think DJ Moore's first offensive coordinator. He got DJ Moore the ball. It was a 1,300-yard receiver there. Completely understandable. But we haven't seen a 1,000-yard season out of DJ Moore in about, 2 seasons. So you grabbed him, and granted, your whole thought process is, well, we got Josh. Didn't we see that last year? Haven't we seen that already, that Josh does not have enough talent? And that even when Josh does make the mistake, you're still going to blame it on the talent. So wouldn't it make sense to just get Josh some talent so that way we can then measure him accordingly by your fuck-ass delusional standard? No. But what it leads to ultimately, and I digress, Brandon Beane plays it safe. Brandon Beane he doesn't have the balls to really make the moves he needs to because ultimately he wants to keep his job. Why hence that he is now the head of football operations and Sean McDermott's fired? You think that's a fucking coincidence? Brandon Beane getting DJ Moore was, hey, let's get somebody. Let's get somebody we know that's a proven receiver that could come in and play with Josh and really, build a rapport. And I'm not saying it won't work. I'm not saying that at all. But if we're really measuring apples to oranges or apples to apples, whatever analogy or allegory you want to use, AJ Brown and DJ Moore, what do you think Bills fans would have wanted? Kind of crazy, but yeah. And then they extended Connor McGovern too and Dawson Knox and punter Mitch Wishnowsky. So kind of did some, taking care of the home guys, but also, like I said, crazy trade for DJ Moore. We'll see how it all plays out. But Max Crosby obviously going to the Ravens was like the biggest headline, biggest move so far, obviously for the draft capital that he went for. The Ravens, the time is now. I mean, make no mistake about it. Lamar has to win. You get a Max Crosby. You don't get Max Crosby because you feel like you're 3 or 4 years away from winning. You feel like you can win now. The AFC is wide open. There's no better time than now to try to win this conference. So if you're the Ravens, this move made sense. If you're the Raiders, this move damn sure made sense because you need as many bodies in there that can actually play football as possible because you have nothing right now in the cupboard. So got to give the Ravens credit for having the balls to make that move. It was a great trade. Like I said, I touched on Tua going to the Falcons. I'm going to go a little bit further. Now, the Cardinals. Cardinals so far, to me, have had an interesting offseason. You grab Tyler Algier, 2 years, $12.25 million. Incentives that can reach up to 16.25. You grab Isaac Samalo, 3 years, $31.5 million. Solid guard, Philly, Pittsburgh, now in Arizona. You grab Kendrick Bourne, solid veteran receiver, 2 years, $10 million, 7.5 of that guaranteed. So essentially 1 year, $7.5 million. And then you get Gardner Minshew, quarterback, 1 year's $5.75 million with incentives could reach 8.25. These moves spell to me that Mike LaFleur is trying to play it safe, but add solid veteran presence with a combination of some playmaking. Because let's be honest, Marvin Harrison, because of the quarterback play and some of it injury, has not been able to reach his potential completely. Trey McBride has been a beast and a constant there for the Cardinals offense, but he has had no fucking quarterback or good, consistent quarterback throwing him the football. We definitely know that to be true. It became a situation where the Cardinals realized they had to really make some solid moves this year. Obviously, getting Mike LaFleur, getting rid of Jonathan Gannon. How these all play out, I don't know. But if you really look at it, the moves kind of indicate the thought process of where the team is trying to go going forward. We'll go a little bit further down. Chargers. Shout out to the Chargers, definitely making solid moves this year. Taking Tyler Biadasz from the Commanders, 3 years, $30 million. Grabbing tight end Charlie Kolar, 3 years, $24.3 million, 17 of that guaranteed. You grab guard Cole Strange for the Patriots, 2 years, $13 million, $9 million guaranteed. And fullback Alec Engel, you bring him in 2 years, $7.5 million. Obviously, was able to retain guys, the Khalil Macks, the Tahar Tarts, the Kamani Vidals, you got to love the way that Harbaugh really roster builds. He really goes into it knowing that he has to have the guys that he wants to really implement that system and that physicality that he wants to go with. They're a player in a lot of different moves going on this offseason. We shall see where this goes. I definitely don't think that the Chargers offseason is done in the least bit. I think they are definitely going to be making some more moves to try to address their roster. What it really comes down to, though, honestly, some of these moves I think are just really teams just trying to reassure up some spots that they know going into the draft are going to be key positions they need, but you kind of want some veterans in those spots to try to seal some things up. However, looking at the moves that kind of happened today, kind of weird. First of all, let's talk about, to me, the strangest and funniest move of the day. The Jets trading for Geno Smith. Now, I don't know what in the hell is going on with the Jets. You trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, day one of free agency. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but Minkah Fitzpatrick hasn't been shit at safety in a good while now. Not a bum, but definitely gets interceptions. I think that's possibly why they grabbed him. Outside of that, wasn't really moving the needle. And then you had to witness Sam Darnold win the Super Bowl this year. And your logical answer, because you don't have an option at quarterback, was, well, let's go and sign Geno Smith. Show of hands, who the fuck thought Geno Smith was going back to the Jets? Because I can tell you, I damn sure didn't. I did not see that coming at all. The Jets really don't have a plan. I mean, that's what it tells me completely. Obviously, Justin Fields' experiment didn't work. That's done. They had to go with somebody, but I think seeing Sam Darnold win, again, the Sam Darnold effect. I think seeing Sam Darnold win made the Jets realize maybe they were unfair to Geno and a bit coarse to him in the beginning. And hopefully they're looking for lightning in a bottle this time. Hopefully he could just kind of steer the ship and be a solid veteran. Newsflash, Jets. Guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but Geno was on the Seahawks a season ago. They had a winning record and missed the playoffs. He leaves. Sam Darnold arrives via Minnesota free agency, and they win the Super Bowl. So maybe they're, like I said, maybe the Jets are hoping for lightning in a bottle, but this really just seems like a watchful move and definitely seems like they are majorly in play for a quarterback 2026 going into 2027. Needless to say, just thought that was one of the worst moves so far. Like Geno back in New York. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm saying before we go, definitely want to check out some more. Definitely check out StubHub and Viagogo, the number 1 and number 2 leading ticket sellers in the world for live event shows and concerts. I'll have the description box and link in the for this video in there for you, so you guys can check it out. Let's see. I see here the Saints have agreed to a 2-year deal with Noah Fant. Again, Saints making a lot of solid moves, getting Trevor Etienne too. I like what the Saints are doing. They're making a lot of solid signings. Definitely should be a little bit more competitive going into next year. Also, too, another major move today that I definitely want to talk about that I think needs to be discussed. Romeo Doubs going to the Patriots. Now, I think that speaks volumes on a lot of levels. Romeo Doubs going to the Patriots tells me, one, that they are out on the A.J. Brown sweepstakes. And not because Romeo Doubs is a better player. That'd be egregious to say. It's not that at all. What it really is speaking to is the fact that I don't think they really want to load up that much money at the wide receiver position. I think they honestly feel like if they can get, an elite wide receiver at a value price, they'll take it. But if they had to take on AJ's contract, I just think that would be a lot for them to really. They would have to win immediately, so that way the brunt of that cap hit doesn't really affect them too much. Again, he signs a 4-year deal. You know, you know, I don't know how this really plays out because Dobbs even deals with concussions. I mean, he couldn't really stay healthy in Green Bay because of the concussion issue. Let alone now you got him in New England where it's like, what is he? He's going to be the number 2. I mean, I don't know. The market's just gotten weird as far as wide receivers have gone. A lot of moves that we thought were going to be made didn't get made. So we'll see how things go. Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars. I'm looking here live. Has restructured his contract. Adam Schefter has said on ESPN, quote, despite speculation, the Jaguars have not been interested in trading Brian Thomas Jr. And there was a lot of speculation going into the offseason. So sorry for you guys who thought maybe you might have a chance at Brian Thomas Jr., but he will not be a free agent this year or traded. That's just something that the Jaguars have realized that obviously it'd be stupid to get rid of him. So he's definitely coming back. You got some restructuring and some other minor moves going on. Look here before we pan out to something else. Give me one moment. And going a little bit further. Let's see here. Let's see. Now, looking at some of the remaining free agents that's left out there on the market, I think it's going to be definitely something to look into. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson, where he goes, I think Jacksonville is going to be possibly the most likely destination, just for home scenery, location, taxes. I think that makes sense. Offensive tackle Rasheed Walker, I mean, definitely where he's going to go. I haven't seen him make a move. I haven't seen his name come off the ticker yet, so we'll see. Reek Woolen, definitely interested to see where he lands. Kayvon Chaisson, where he goes. Jawan Jennings. I believe Greg Newsome, the second, signed with – yes, he signed with the New York Giants today. So that was definitely a good signing by the Giants. Got to give the Giants credit, too. Getting Harbaugh in there, they're definitely making a lot of key signings and signatures that are going to really help their roster going into next year. Veteran presidents, guys that are tough and physical, embodying the style he learned in Philadelphia under Jim Johnson and carry it forward, in Baltimore. So good signings there so far. Look a little bit further. And let's see here. Take that off in a moment. And I'm on NFL.com right now, pulling up the latest action, latest updates. And like I said, day 2 has been a little bit more quiet than day 1 has been, but I think that's primarily because we have so many major moves like that. There's still other things in the background being set up that a lot of people haven't seen. So it'll be interesting. But, Malik Willis going to the Dolphins, I think that was definitely another dope-ass move, too. The Dolphins needed a quarterback. Obviously, Tua was not coming back. I mean, they wanted Tua out of the building so fucking badly. They're eating a $99 million cap hit to keep him out of the building. So that just tells you how bad things have got there. They just want to go into a new direction. Elijah Vera Tucker signing with the Patriots, leaving the Jets. 3 years, $42 million, 21 guaranteed. Another guy who has been, when he's healthy, been one of the best, linemen in the football, but when he's been injured, just put the Jets in a precarious situation. But he may be another player like Mekhi Becton who just leaves and actually can blossom and be something because it's the Jets. So looking a bit further, one moment here. Moment. And let's look at some of the moves the Steelers have made. Now, obviously, like I said, I spoke about Michael Pittman being traded from the Colts. Now, that trade was in exchange for a late-round pick swap. Pittman signed a new 3-year, $59 million deal with Pittsburgh, so credit to Michael Pittman for getting his bag. However, the Rico Dowdle signing for Pittsburgh and the Jamel Dean signing, I think, were possibly the most underrated signings that they had all of yesterday, going into today. Those are guys that can come in and play and step in right now, can definitely make an impact on that roster. So, got to give the Pittsburgh Steelers credit. They're not making a bunch of splashy signings, but making key signings that they need that are going to come in and definitely help, their roster, just so the depth-wise they're better going into 2026. And go a little bit further here. Titans definitely been spending money too. Getting Mitchell Trubisky as a backup to Cam Ward. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 years, $78 million, $38 million guaranteed. I probably would never have paid Wan'Dale Robinson that type of money, but because you have Brian Daboll there in that rapport, it happens. You got Jermaine Johnson, obviously big trade that happened during the combine where the Titans traded for Jermaine Johnson, the second from the Jets. Huge trade there. They traded Tavondre Sweat and swapped, players out like that for that move. Jonathan Franklin Myers signed a 3-year, $63 million deal with $42 million guaranteed. And also, too, the most underrated signing, I think, throughout all of these was Alontae Taylor, former corner from New Orleans, signed a 2-year deal. Essentially 19.3, if I'm looking at the numbers correctly, 19.3 guaranteed at signing. That's going to be throughout the life of the contract. But Titans are definitely spending money and definitely doing what they need to try to be better than, the abysmal state that they were in as of last year. All right. Go a little bit further. NFC. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, the rest of the moves are still yet to be made. Some of these moves, like I said, I have the link within the description box of this video. You'll be more than welcome to check it out. But right now, this free agency period has been exactly what I expected it to be. A little bit chaotic, a little bit crazy, a little bit fun. But I can't wait to see the rest of it and see how things play out and where things may go. But that's going to do it for this live stream episode, guys. I love you guys for plugging in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. And I will have a stream going tomorrow for day 2 of free agency, recapping a lot of the crazy moves that's going on, seeing what other moves might potentially get made, big trades coming up. So thank you for plugging in. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.